What's up, everybody? We're back to give our reactions to the EA press conference. I'm going to sound a bit subdued because my voice is really hurting. But let's get into it and let's work as we do. You know how we do this. We work through the conference chronologically, going from the first thing we saw to the very last thing we saw, trying to pick out the highlights and the lowlights. I get the feeling it's going to be more of a latter here. So we're going to work through EA's 2016 E3 press conference. You ready to start, my man?
Yeah.
Overall, what did you think?
It was a little bit low.
It was. I'm gonna be straight brutal. I thought that was shit. I thought that was blindingly shit.
Yeah.
I thought we started off with a high point, which was Titanfall 2.
Yeah. So Titanfall 2
Looked incredible.
looks really good. It's an interesting one as well because like the first one didn't hit quite as much as they wanted it to.
Yeah.
It was a very good game, but it didn't really take the market by storm.
Yeah, it didn't have a huge sell.
So I'm hoping that this is like the game that does it for them.
I mean, I think it's reached 12 million now,
Yeah.
but like it's done that after
after a while.
lots of discounts and lots of summer sales
I
and that
think
kind of stuff.
Hopefully this is the game that does it for them.
I agree.
In Titanfall. It looked really beautiful. There was loads of new kind of things and features they've added. The addition of a grappling hook in the like free running sections, but also as a weapon, it seemed.
Yeah, we saw grappling hooks for traversal. We saw lasers, as you have so thingily put down. My favourite quote of E3 so far is Daniel Krupa on the IGN stream going, "I think we're passing over the important thing here of robots can now do kung fu," which is great.
Yeah,
So the
robot melee
Titans,
combat.
a lot of melee combat for the Titans.
It looks good though.
Yeah, I'd agree. They made very clear that there's a single player game and it's entirely playable offline.
Yeah,
So that means maybe Lawrence will let us include Titanfall for Game of the Year discussions this year, which will be nice.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that they're pushing that, especially as a lot of the games that they talked about this year has a very big multiplayer focus.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much of that is a response to... I mean, obviously a lot of it is a response to Titanfall being so critically hammered for not being playable offline.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that is going to go into capturing the original sort of Titanfall feeling.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. So then we got on to something that I really liked, which was their Play to Give. I think that was what it was called, Play to Give.
Yeah.
Well, they did a second on esports. I don't know if you want to talk about that. They did like 10 minutes on esports.
It was a significant section.
Was it?
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like it was a significant section and then a small section and then a significant section interviewing Battlefield players that nobody really knew.
No, but that was in the afters. Honestly, there was a you were very busy doing other things.
A significant section, in that case, on esports. So they're setting up like whole player-based esports leagues.
Yeah.
Where the players can do events, EA can do events, professionals can do events. I don't know. It was all a very big slump at that point to me. Like,
yeah.
Titanfall was such a good opener, and then there was like 15 minutes of talk about how they're giving. I don't even really know what was said. Like it felt very un-E3. It felt very flat.
Yeah, it did. It did.
So then they go. Then they went on to talk about. Oh no, this comes later. Okay, so then they went on to talk about how some of the stuff that they're doing with Battlefield 1 here is going on to ESPN, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Then they talked about how some of the games that they're releasing in the next... they didn't really mention this specifically, but we kind of took it to mean here that a lot of the games they're releasing in the next few years are being positioned as esports.
Yeah.
So like Battlefield 1, they didn't strictly say any of this, but it seems like they're looking at Battlefield 1 as a potential esport competitor, and maybe the same thing of the other stuff they announced. I think FIFA and Madden specifically they're looking at as esports, and that makes sense because they really lead the genre that they're a part of.
I think Battlefield does as well, but I mean, it's the esports thing's something that's kind of they've yet to be seen as big, those games as much. I mean, like, while they're popular, when you think esports, you still think of your like Dotas and your you know your leagues.
They're popular as multiplayer games within the
Yeah.
genres, but they haven't captured that prize pool esport kind of atmosphere. And this is clearly EA making a big push for that. Why? I don't entirely know. It seems like this is maybe not the best way to monetize some of these properties. Like, some of them it makes a lot of sense for. Something like Madden or FIFA, I would say it makes a lot of sense for. For Battlefield 1, I feel like there's maybe better ways that they can do this.
Yeah, I get that.
Especially with, like, so many competitors going out as... Like, Call of Duty is pushing esports, Halo's pushing esports, Overwatch is pushing esports. It seems like there's a lot of stuff that they're going up against where maybe they're making it a harder job for themselves.
Yeah. I mean... when they were doing the Madden thing, they tried to really make it a big thing about esports. Because they brought out he's the best guy at Madden, and this guy's the best guy at Madden.
Yeah, they did.
And they're going to play against each other, and it's going to be like a title. Like, this is the big boxing championship of.
There was a lot of I'm the best in the world.
Yeah.
Discussions.
It was interesting.
It was a real slump, though.
Yeah.
A real slump. Then they went on to talk about Mass Effect Andromeda.
This was the biggest disappointment for me, because
I
wanted to see so much more. What they showed us was another teaser.
And it's weird to say that, because what we saw looked incredible. Like, graphically it looked great. The Mako looked great fun. The planets looked very Mass Effect-y. The atmosphere felt very it was funny.
But we could have seen so much more.
Mass Effect 4 was confirmed so long ago that I kind of forgot that I wanted Mass Effect 4.
Yeah.
And then they showed us it, and they showed us, like, the Citadel was in it, and they showed us the first landing on other planets, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot this is what it feels like.
Yeah, I think...
But then in the same way, you're absolutely right with what you said. There was so little of it. Like, this should have been... Your prediction was, this is the blowout.
Yeah.
This is where we get all of that information. This is where we get that big push. And you're right, it should have been.
Because they could have done so much more with it, and it felt like they showed stuff, but it wasn't anything like...
There was nothing of real significance. Like, we didn't get a date. We got we got a bit of gameplay stuff, but nothing huge. Like, it was literally maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted a big, like, story element. You know, like you know the 5-minute cinematics you get that are just sort of... I want something big, you know.
No, I agree, and I think it's telling that we spent as much, if not maybe more time on Titanfall.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe EA don't know what to do with this game right now.
Yeah.
Man, this whole conference is a really interesting thing to look at. So then we looked over, then we got to the play to give thing, which is EA somehow, they didn't exactly make this clear how they're going to do it, but it's EA somehow converting what you play into charitable donations.
So it seemed to be like achievement based, so like certain achievements on certain games would...
Right, okay.
They would donate to charity or something.
Okay, that's a kind of cool idea. I like that. The metagame has some kind of actual tangible thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. The reason personally that I'm on such a high for this is that a couple of about 6-7 months ago, we were very lucky. We were lucky enough to interview Special Effect at EGX, and Special Effect is one of the charities that's on this thing. Yeah. Special Effect are a charity which help disabled gamers play games by modifying peripherals and things, and they're entirely funded by charitable donations. So to see such a giant company, such a giant gaming company, recognise them and do something for them is huge. Yeah. Huge for that charity. Massive props to EA for recognising them. And even if this conference was crap, but a huge amount of respect for EA for doing that. And actually, I think that speaks to something more here. I think a lot of this was EA trying to shun the "we are not a nice company" kind of image tag. Like, a lot of it felt very forward-thinking. A lot of it felt like they were trying to be quite human. But I think as a result of that, they forgot to be spectacular. Yeah. Like, they were very good at being caring and loving and interesting, but they weren't very good at making you go, wow, which is a shame, because that's what you want out of E3.
Yeah. Yeah, E3 is the time to be like, wow, I'm so excited for this game.
Yeah.
And nothing in this was, well, I guess Titanfall was good, but there was nothing major. Like, that's the only thing, and you're like...
There were maybe some middle points. There weren't many highs.
Yeah, you want to be like, I'm so excited for this.
So, then FIFA came on.
FIFA came on for a long time.
FIFA came on with somebody running through a football tunnel, said in inverted commas, which was like hastily thrown on the stage with lights behind it. The interesting thing here, though, is I don't know if you've played NBA 2K16, but NBA 2K16, it seems like FIFA's taking a leaf out of their book. The way that NBA 2K16 works is you play as a person who joins the NBA, goes through the NBA, and that's exactly what FIFA looks like it's doing this year. They had a mode called The Journey, in which you play as somebody who gets scouted for a football.
You play as a specific person.
Yeah,
it's not like make your own character.
Isn't it?
You are this certain character.
Oh, that's interesting. I got the vibe that it was make your own character.
They said.
Oh shit. Okay.
You play as Alex
Hunter,
and he's going to become a big footballer.
Oh shit. I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah, it said it.
Wow, that's a really story focused thing.
You play as that one character.
Interesting. So you manage them through you play as them, and they get scouted and managed through various football teams up to the highest levels, which is really interesting.
I think it's something that people. Well, it depends really. I mean, it speaks to people like me. Whether it speaks to the core audience of FIFA, I'm not sure.
I think what they really should have done, they should have. It's weird because saying that like they took up a lot of time, it felt like they did, like it felt like it dragged on, but at the same time I feel like they should have added more detail to certain bits. And here specifically, I think this is where they show the journey is one mode, here is your regular FIFA mode, here's your multiplayer, here's your other stuff. Like, it seems like this is a very big addition to FIFA, but they didn't make it clear it was an addition, which is a shame because it's speaking to you in a way that FIFA hasn't done for a while. But it needs to speak to that core audience who come back year after year and keep that series funded.
And I don't think it really attracts like the main core audience, to be honest. So it's good for people like me who I might play it. But like when you're looking at the actual main audience of FIFA, it didn't really bring much to the table in that. Yeah,
it didn't.
Because they kind of went over it and they were like, they went through and they were like, okay, the new FIFA's got better precision. We've like reworked everything. You can do cool kicks.
Cool kicks.
Like the way the attacking system and defending system works has completely changed. But then they didn't actually show anything with that. It was just words.
Yeah. They definitely seem it did definitely seem like the kind of push that would go to a new audience. And I mean, I'm being a bit cynical, but people will buy FIFA. No matter what happens, people will buy FIFA. I don't think the core audience are here watching and deciding not to buy FIFA over this. But it will be interesting to see how this changes the reception of the series.
To be honest, I don't really think FIFA is a game that needs to be at E3. Just because I think it's one of the games that people are going to buy it. Yeah, and also I think like... Or at least people here are going to buy it.
Well, and not just that, but I think it's the kind of game where E3 doesn't necessarily speak to that core audience. I think people...
No, that's true.
The people who are watching for FIFA are maybe tuning in for FIFA and a couple other things. Yeah. Like, we're tuning in for the big reveals, the big things for the games industry. Yeah. Those people are tuning in because FIFA is a core of its own. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what effect, if any, this has. Yeah. So then we move on from FIFA to EA Originals, which is EA's indie... Basically, it seems like an indie publishing thing. But they came out with the rather bold claim that the publisher... No, sorry, the small developer keeps all the money that they get from the game. Yeah, they said the small 100% of the profit goes back into the thing. Again, we're trying not to be too skeptical here, but I imagine that the way that that's going to work is EA will push all the profit back to the thing, but keep the IP. Yeah. And if the IP's any good... They will say, okay, thanks studio, here's all your profit, good luck in the big wild world, we're going to go and make the sequel to this. Yeah, I don't know that, because I mean, it depends. Would you sell your child for lots and lots? Well, yes, to get it made, for one thing. I mean, like, I'd sell a child to make a child. I mean like, to these people, I imagine, and you've got the chance to like get this game made, your passion made, but it's not going to be yours afterwards. I mean, the interesting thing is, like, they came out and said... But we're being skeptical. We're being uber cynical. The interesting thing is they came out and said, you guys met... Last year you met Yanni, and you met Martin, who made Yanni. And I thought, because they'd already confirmed that Unravel 2 is happening. Like, that's happening. It's in
Okay.
development. And I was like, oh, this is the bit where they're going to announce it. And then they were like, no, we're going to do a publishing thing. I wonder if Unravel 2 has been taken in by EA.
Okay.
Like, I wonder if the studio that made Unravel is
Yeah.
now doing a new thing. Unravel 2 is EA, and that's an exact example of how it's going to go from now
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Because I mean, I can see it happening. I mean, it's interesting because I mean, like, it just seems like too bold a claim that they could say that they're going to do that. I mean, because on the face of it, they don't get anything from it.
No, yeah, absolutely. But then again, this did seem like it was EA trying to show we're not evil to an extent.
Okay. Yeah, true.
Did you just have a brainwave?
It's subscription exclusive. The Origin Access thing. EA Access.
Yeah, EA and Origin Access subscription exclusive.
Yeah, it's going to be like a subscription thing.
Oh, really? You think that's how they're going to do it?
Yeah. Because then the whole like the profits of the game become like a blurry line, and then it's kind of
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
that's one potential.
because I'm wondering about that because that would just about work, and they'd still be able to kind of half make that claim.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what
Yeah.
happens when it happens.
Yeah.
So then from that we moved on from their publishing to FE, which is
Fe.
the first game.
This is the-
Fe or Fe.
Yeah, this is the game that they was kind of like pushing with this EA Originals.
Yeah. So
Got a lovely
it
slideshow.
was it was a lot of images of a game, a couple of videos of a game happening. I can't really describe it. It looked a bit like a sort of very dark
So-
3D platformer.
Yeah, you went around and
I think there was bats.
everything in the world made noises, and you collected those like noises, and you could communicate with things.
Right.
Is what
Okay.
is the impression I got. And then there's like bad guys, and you use your
It reminded
music
me a bit
powers.
of a less horrific and much more colourful Limbo.
Yeah.
But not much more colourful. Just sort of one more
Yeah.
colourful.
I don't know. It's
I don't know. I mean,
looked
Unravel,
alright, but-
Unravel came out and it wasn't very critically acclaimed, but it was something new and interesting from EA, so maybe...
yeah. Well, the thing
this
for me
is
with
a
this
new
one is
direction.
that this one, it's a game that they stated it's a game with no direction, which I'm always iffy on. You know, like a game where you're dropped in it, as it was.
Yeah.
You know, like there are games where that works. I mean, like, you know, you could argue that Minecraft is a game where you're just dropped in it, and that definitely works.
absolutely.
You know, but like, because sometimes no direction in a game like this can just mean it's,
Literally no direction. Yeah.
and then you play it like once for 5 minutes and you go, okay, I'm done now.
Yeah. Okay, so then from Fe, we moved on to Star Wars. And the first annotation that we have here down for Star Wars is Battlefront 2, which is a
Yeah, so-
perfect annotation, because we know Battlefront 2 is coming. We know it's been confirmed.
I'm wondering.
But they went
really-
on stage...
Hang on.
No, you want to go?
I was going to say, I'm wondering really whether maybe the script was wrong.
Oh, really?
Because maybe what they meant to say is they're continuing like support for Battlefront or something along the lines of that. Because the thing is that the person said that they're making like a new Battlefront.
Battlefront.
But then the actual like title behind them didn't have any effort of calling it Battlefront 2. It was still just Battlefront, which is
So
iffy.
we do know that Battlefront is getting a sequel. Like, they confirmed it in an investors call that Battlefront 2 is happening. But what they came out here and announced on stage was, we're building on Battlefront. They didn't go into any more detail than that. They made it clear, from the various clips we got, they made it clear that they're adding content from the new movies. They're adding content from different eras. And they're adding a single-player thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't made clear whether that's an expansion to the current game, or whether this is all very early stuff from Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
And that's something that's a recurring theme in this conference is, what the fuck is it?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, true.
Like, is Mass Effect... Like, what the fuck is Mass
Yeah.
Effect for? What the fuck is FIFA?
I mean, the thing for me with this is that, so they did this with Battlefront. Still not really sure what they are.
Yeah.
And then they kind of came out at this point, kind of with this, and said, you know, we're building all these Star Wars games, and you're kind of going, oh, this is exciting. They're going to do loads of Star Wars. And then what we got was kind of Battlefront's coming, and then what we got from there was like, there's a game, and then there's another game.
Yeah, so they confirmed all the games, all the Star Wars games they have in
currently
in development currently, and obviously there's Jade Raymond's Motive, there's Amy Hennig's Star Wars game, there's the Battlefront, whatever it is, whether it's 2 or expansions. We know that there's one coming from the people who made from Visceral, who made Dead Space. We know that there's this, that, and the other coming, but they didn't say anything new. They confirmed like it's not hard to do an hour of Googling and come up with all the same answers, and it feels it. So EA made it very clear that they're trying to avoid E3 this year.
Yeah.
And I wonder if lots of people thought this was a sort of a sign of the times of E3 going down the pan and publishers trying to get away. I don't think so now. I wonder if EA literally knew that they didn't have enough to show.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, they must have. If they'd pushed on Mass Effect, if they'd pushed on the Star Wars
Maybe Mass Effect is in a much more broken state than we think.
At the very least, though, we could have got reveals for some of the Star Wars games.
Maybe they're not revealable. Like, that's what I was thinking that too. I got to the end of it when we were trying to get some various technical issues sorted. I was thinking, oh, okay, well, they should have done this instead, or they could have done that instead. But the only thing that we see here that's got new core gameplay and promises to be out within the next 6 months is Titanfall and Battlefield.
Yeah.
And they're stuff that we know has been in the works for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe everything else from EA is not in a very showable state, and maybe this is a signifier of EA actually not being in a great place right now.
You can put teasers out though. I mean, like, you don't need to have much to show to put
something
out. I mean, the thing is, I didn't write it down, but I feel like they said it's like next year there's this game, and then the year after that there's going to be the
they did. They
game.
confirmed Battlefront something next year, probably Battlefront 2 next year. Then there's the 2017
first person game.
The 2017 action game.
Yeah,
2018 first person something or other.
Third person.
Third person respawn game. That's it.
I mean, like, I would have. Maybe that's their big thing next year, though. You know. Or maybe that's their big thing at some point. I mean,
but it feels so weird to come out, because EA are one of the biggest publishers known to man, and it feels very weird to come out of their E3 conference and think, well, maybe there's something next year.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, though, is with the Star Wars content, there are games out there that could also set the world on fire, you know?
Yeah.
They could come out and be like, here's spiritual successor to KOTOR, wherever it is, you know.
Here's like Knights of the Old Republic, here's The Force Unleashed, here's...
Yeah, I mean, any of those games where they can... I mean, I think at this point we're unlikely to get sequels. I think we're more likely to get... this is Force Unleashed 1.
And this is the thing, that, like, all we can really do is shrug our shoulders here. Then we went past Star Wars and we went to Battlefield 1. The first thing to mention of Battlefield 1 is the trailers, which are untrustable, but the trailers nonetheless look gorgeous.
Oh yeah,
really good looking.
It made a big point of saying that this is game footage, and then they made the horrible mistake of like 15 minutes later showing actual game footage.
Yeah,
and you're like,
well, I mean, it's fair to say the actual game footage still looks really good.
Oh yeah,
it didn't quite look to the level of the trailers, but it did look pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Overall, though, it did feel different. It didn't feel Call of Duty-esque. It did feel different.
Yeah, that is fair. I mean,
until, I would say, the gameplay started.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think once the gameplay started, it just felt like people running around World War One doing what they would do in a Battlefield game, which makes perfect sense. But I don't know. Going into this, I kind of wanted to see Battlefield 1 do something really radically different. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing. I mean, the gameplay that we saw seemed to avoid actually showing the tank combat, the plane combat, and the Zeppelin stuff.
Yeah,
it showed Zeppelins exploding, but it didn't actually show you at any point like, here's you controlling a Zeppelin.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is something that's like, I think people do want to see, you know.
I agree.
There's elements there that they could have shown and they didn't, and that's kind of not telling, but it's interesting, and especially when you look at there was a few big things that we noticed, and like one is that the map that it showed wasn't trenches at all, which is, you know, there's other parts of World War One, but I think if you want to push the feel of World War One, you would push like this is the map we want to show.
And like, to be fair, we only saw one map being played.
Oh, yeah.
We stuck around for the post show, which we've never done for another for any of the conferences that we've ever covered, because I think...
Well, in fairness, I think that I had to, because of the fact that this is like, they haven't shown us anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say, is we stuck around for the post-show purely because we thought that we needed...
It was the only way to see
We
it.
needed to be fair to what they're trying to show, and I don't think they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Any sort of spare closing thoughts? I've just
I
had
think
one or two.
I would have liked... I mean, in terms of the Battlefield thing, the thing is that I would say that they pushed this like new element of like the desert combat and the armored trains and the horses, and it would have been interesting to see some of that, because maybe that's something they should have done, is play to the new elements to this series.
Yeah.
You know? Like there isn't really any game that I can think of that's had like a multiplayer element and had horses and this kind of like
And Zeppelins and...
Yeah,
absolutely.
all this kind of thing happening together.
So a couple of spare closing thoughts that I'm going to remark on. The first thing is, I'm surprised they didn't talk about Mirror's Edge at all.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. It is them,
no
isn't it?
mention of it being a successful launch.
Yeah.
No mention of it being supported in the future, which is something that most companies would do when you launch a game a week before E3. That's maybe quite telling of how that game's been received. Still no mention. There's not
I
a
can't say I've
single...
heard of it.
I mean, I was really excited by it. I played it for a while with the open beta. Not the open beta, the closed beta. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but whatever. And it felt great. It felt really great. Couple of things as well. No racing game.
Yeah.
No Need for Speed, no car thing, which is interesting because Criterion have been off the grid for a while now. And when we saw that dev diary a couple of years ago of what their game would be, it was in very early stages. 2 years later, you'd think they would have something to show.
Yeah, I mean,
that's kind of worrying.
I mean, you raise good points. I mean, there's lots of little bits that EA
didn't show.
We know that they're up to and haven't really. Well,
Still,
we know that they're up to,
still no mention of any. And now, to be fair, this is something you got to be fair to them. EA have gone on record and said we don't want to do remasters.
Yeah.
But I still can't believe they're not doing a Mass Effect collection.
Yeah, that's true.
No mention of backwards compatibility. Oh, shit.
Okay.
That's really pretty. They may have just announced a new Xbox Elite controller, and it looks very good. Look forward to that on our Xbox reactions. So no mention of any kind of backwards compatibility, which is really interesting because I thought they'd definitely be bringing stuff to EA Access.
Yeah.
No PS4 version of Access, which I thought was something they'd definitely go to.
Yeah.
Not a huge mention of what they're doing to Origin.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a great deal of things that seem to be missing from this conference, and the stuff that was there seemed very sparse. So I kind of hate to say it, but I think EA dropped the ball here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I find it very strange that they haven't done more of a push on the PlayStation side of things, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, like, in this day at the moment, with the way things are, it makes a lot more sense to be,
pushing
really
services
pushing
on the
Sony.
PlayStation. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just the situation we live in at the moment.
Who knows? Maybe Xbox really are just like spending the dollars to keep them there.
Yeah, maybe.
And I mean, mate, like, as far as I'm aware, EA Access has been really quite good for both of them. It's been good enough that they opened Origin Access. Maybe they signed some kind of exclusivity with.
Maybe.
But then they got around that with Origin Access on PC. It seems like it would be fairly easy to do with PlayStation. And you wonder, if they're not pushing that, why are they not pushing some kind of alternative? It seems like they want to be there, especially as their franchises are selling best there. Battlefront sold best on PlayStation 4 every time it's in MPD.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There seems to be a lot missing from this conference and very little there, which is worrying when they have so many games out in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. I mean, the thing is, the EA's... I don't know how they are recently, to be honest, but I know that there used to be a finger in every pie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, every game had... So many games were EA... or published by EA, or sponsored by EA, or, you know... So there's lots they could have brought to the table, I think.
And a lot that they didn't.
Yeah.
So that's our thoughts on EA. Overall, not very good. Not very good at all. And so perhaps we have to wrap up with the best things that we saw were Mass Effect 4, Mass Effect Andromeda, Titanfall 2, The Titans Can Do Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's kind of it. It's sad.
So now we wait for Bethesda to start, and we leave you with our EA reactions. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. If you did, if you liked what you heard here, please consider liking us to help us get a bit further. Come and have a look at our Facebook page. Subscribe to us so you don't miss any more of our E3 content, and we'll see you at the next one. But until then, the game's up.